Assalamu alaikum. Short version. Salam. This is Hubb'Allah, a Muslim thinker, writer, visionary, once a futurist. The future that I was working on is now becoming present. It's a climate future that I was working on many years ago, and now it has become present. So I'm an actionist, uh, bringing to life what was once the future. And a Mama one based in the Pakistani Himalayas. For those who are not aware, Assalamu alaikum or Salam is a Muslim greeting because I'm a Muslim. And that means, in my translation, in the contemporary global spiritualist idiom, that may you be whole, wholesome, integrated, and put together going forward and in this moment in which we are coming face to face. Because when we are put together and when our personalities are gathered in this moment, present moment, then it is first of all healthy in its own, on its own, and also the transmission between us becomes powerful as we are paying attention to each other. So I'm paying a lot of attention to you, and I pray and hope that you pay attention to what I'm going to say. This talk is part of the series of, I don't know how long will the series go. This is the fourth video in which I am talking about my journey towards an eco-feminine paradigm. This is perhaps the most urgent talk that I could make. I should have made this 15 years ago, but here I am just picking up the pieces, going back in time. I have been practicing an eco-feminine path, but I haven't spoken about it because it is difficult to speak about in public. People are not ready for it. They pounce on every word. They pounce on you, on the direction that you're going into, criticize you, because I actually was educated, highly educated, and I say was educated because I was educated in what we now call the masculine, patriarchal, military, industrial paradigm. Big words, right? And I just did business studies. I did not even go towards sociology, though I liked it, but I was one of those people who said, I don't like isms because isms are space and time bound. And I was more towards the amorphous, universal teachings. I loved them. I grew up reading the scriptures, the Quran, and listening to a lot of fairy tales. Somehow I was very gravitated towards tales about psychology, the psyche, the everythingness, the big picture. I have been a generalist. I'm one of the people who are curious about the entirety of the world and life. I'm very passionate about everything. Whatever you show me, whatever I see, I'm very curious about that. You show me all types of cuisine, I'm interested. You show me all types of people. As you can see, these people, I'll explain that to you in a minute. I'm very curious about people and faces. Now, I can have personal preferences of liking or not liking things. Like I can't eat everything, but I do appreciate everything that is permitted by God, as we Muslims understand God and the teachings that have come to us. The same teachings from the same God have come over various times and eras in different places through what Muslims say are up to perhaps about 124,000 messengers and prophets, by the way. So there might be a lot of people who might be actually listening to some Muslim explaining things. It might be the first time. So by the way, Islam was not like a one-hit wonder where some god said, "Who Muslims, you are a different entity." It is actually, according to the overt Muslim faith, a continuation of the message of the Almighty. There's this one Almighty who created everything since the beginning of time that we can perceive, humans perceive. What is outside of the space and time and universe that we have seen so far with our own telescopes and eyes, we don't know. We can theorize about it. We can hypothesize about it. Some of us may have access to outer and inner knowledge that can help us peek into other parallel worlds. There are two ways of looking into things. There's an outer way, which is through science and exploration, and we're walking about in the material realm and actually gathering all the knowledge of all the plant species and this and that, like logging knowledge. And there's actually a complete reflection of it in the inner dimension. And that is like, I've gone too far in this talk, right? Haven't I? Basically, it is said, not just in Islam, but other faiths as well, primarily the esoteric Eastern faiths, that whatever you're seeing in the outer is actually a projection of what is coming from the inside. And if different people are having different experiences, is because there's one lamp in the inside, but we put our own filters on top of it, and our time and space is also a filter. So you can be the most beautiful universal human being, and yet your time space affect what projection do you see. And yet you can tell, like it's like standing in one room and everybody can see the same room, but everybody's getting a slightly different angle of it. So even if there are 2 or 3 people in a room and they can see everything by turning their neck around, at one time they're seeing a certain thing, and what they're seeing is different from somebody else whose eyes are just in a different place. You know what I mean? So this talk is part of a series of talks. If I haven't mentioned that already, I'm going to repeat that. In which I'm talking about the eco-feminine perspective that I'm working towards. Eco is ecology, not economics. And the word ecology encapsulates economics. And this is one more thing that I want to say, that economics in this time at human evolution and our human global connectivity should come from ecology and an understanding of ecology, and become more grounded. And that not only will be wonderful and and prevent a lot of prevent a lot of waste that we human beings are making through our disjointed thinking. But rather it'll create more opportunity, it'll bring more groundedness, and it'll bring people together, because once you start converging towards ecology, which is a common shared experience that we're all having of this Gaia, this earth, uh, then you're like, wow, we can only reach more or less a similar conclusion. Again, I said you can be in the same room but in a different place, right? So if there are 6 people sitting in one room, one is sitting in this corner, one is sitting in that corner, and we're all in the same room. So the space itself is shared, and our understanding that we're in the same space is shared. And as far as we are mentally present there, somebody's taking their phone or just thinking of something else and they're not present. So being present is really part of doing a better job of being alive and becoming more conscious and becoming more useful to yourself and to the other. I've said a fat lot of things in one video, so you can go back to it and listen to it. But I am talking about eco-feminine perspective and how I came out of this disjointed medley of things that I had learned growing up in school, etc. They were kind of moving towards something, and what they were moving towards was this growth in an industrial paradigm. You study, you go to school, you study math, science, physics, Urdu, and my national language, English, very important. In the system that I studied in, which was like an English system within Pakistan. And then you graduate, and then you get a master's degree. And if you're lucky, your family would let you do a job, and then you can grow in it also. So you can go the corporate or academic or whatever path. And most often people are gotten married off, both men and women, and their career kind of shifts, and they perhaps cannot keep on advancing the corporate career. There are families who do that. They become corporate, they become industrial, they have this whole thing. Nothing wrong with that. In fact, this is very useful because even in the ecological paradigm, you must grow. If you can, you should. Somebody needs to take charge of the world. So this is good, but the only difference is that this was a military industrial paradigm. So very, very bone dry. You just deal with machines and numbers and basically industry. The education that was being given to us when I was a child in 1980s and 1990s and in decades around that, which is focused on industry, was about creating managers and workers out of us, and was not a very holistic education. There were systems in which you were taught things like home economics, etc. So if the education became more diverse, then we would have an aspect of industry which is also important, and then would have other aspects around it which are about the totality of the human experience. And to have that perspective is called eco-femininity. So one last look at this thing, which I call the Eco Queen. This is a character that I've created, and this is an AI generated picture of it. I was asking AI to show her as a leader of the people. It just brought up Muslim people in this instance because I asked it to draw a Muslim Eco Queen. In the next video, I'll show you more iterations of the Eco Queen. Stay with me, and thank you for listening to my mini TED Talk. Thank you. Salam.